$1 million, I would do quite a few things. That would be an easy one.
$1 million.
And I'd get famous, possibly.
$1 million.
I could promote the podcast.
$1 million, but you have to spend the rest of your days as Mitch McConnell's hand rubber.
Oh, Jesus. Now you're upping the stakes.
Just rubbing Mitch's hands every day.
He's such a disgusting human being. I think I'd have to actually turn that one down.
But it is $1 million. Think of all the good you could do with $1 million.
But can I get away with poisoning him after like one day?
Can you poison him with just contacting his hands with your hands without hurting your hands?
No, I mean, I'd like put something in his oatmeal or whatever.
I bet he does eat oatmeal. He seems like the type of person who eats oatmeal because he truly believes that it helps you stop masturbating.
Is that a thing?
Or
did you just make that up?
It's not technically a thing, but like Quaker Oats and like Kellogg cornflakes, Kellogg, guy.
I've heard this before.
He designed like the most bland cereals possible because he believed that it helped suppress sexual urges.
Yeah, reduce the libido. Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
And that's why the libido is so strong in people who don't eat cereal.
That's why.
That's why. But if you want a truly mega libido, the trick is to eat sugary cereals for every meal.
I wonder if there's people, there could be like a fetish where you just...
Where you rub Mitch McConnell's hands while poisoning cereal?
No, that's not what I was going to say, but...
I only get off from poisoning Mitch McConnell. God.
No, I was thinking just like oatmeal, like an oatmeal porn fetish somehow, like including oatmeal in sex acts to be like, oh yeah, Mr. Kellogg, look at your theory now. Just like doing the most perverse shit, but while like covered in oatmeal and eating oatmeal.
Who doesn't love an oatmeal bath? Mm-hmm.
He walked out in the gray light and stood, and he saw for a brief moment the absolute truth of the world. The cold, relentless circling of the intestate earth. Darkness implacable. The blind dogs of the sun in their running. The crushing black vacuum of the universe. And somewhere 200 animals trembling like ground foxes in their cover. Borrowed time and borrowed world and borrowed eyes with which to sorrow it.
And lo, for the earth was empty of form, and void, and darkness was all over the face of the deep, and we said, look at that fucker dance.
Welcome to Heat Death of the Universe. We are broadcasting from Seoul, South Korea. It is October 28th, 2020. It is Wednesday at 12:09 p.m. Korean Standard Time. I woke up to some pretty good news today, or not really woke up to exactly. I had to wait about an hour and a half or 2 hours, but I got tested for coronavirus last night, and I don't have it. I found out pretty quickly. The turnover is pretty fast here in Korea. Yeah, so congratulate me, audience, for not having the disease.
I'm happy for you.
Thanks.
I think that's probably the best birthday present you could give Hillary Clinton. It's her birthday.
Is it?
I think so.
Fuck her. My birthday was like 3 days ago. My birthday was better.
Maybe her birthday was October 27th.
Anyway, if I start talking about Hillary Clinton, we're going to totally miss what we want to talk about.
Do you share
today.
a birthday with Hillary Clinton?
No, I share a birthday with Pablo Picasso, famed misogynist and painter.
You could have shared a birthday with the first president. The first president that never was.
The first president. All right, let's talk about the big news of the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess it was the big news of yesterday.
Well, the big news of today is that Cyberpunk 2077 has been delayed by 3 weeks. It's already been delayed twice. It's in gold. That means it's already been printed on CDs.
I don't have any idea what words you're saying right now.
I'm talking about... Isn't this a video game? Okay. I'll be serious now.
No, so like the big deal is that yes, now we have a full all 9 members on the Supreme Court. 6 are avowed conservatives. Yes, Mrs. Amy Coney Barrett has been sworn in, and people are outraged because this is now less than a week before the presidential election. And it seems almost certain that there's going to be some intervention, we'll say, of the Supreme Court in deciding the outcome of the election, because along with this new justice, Barrett, we have Brett Kavanaugh and who's the other one? Roberts.
Yeah.
And all 3 of these people, they were assistants to the legal team of George W. Bush in the 2000 election, to which, handed him the presidency. And it seems like it's very likely to be a repeat there. We don't need to read the whole thing. It's kind of long, but here's a quick rundown about Trump's plans here in the old World Socialist website, the old International Committee of the Fourth International Trotskyist Collective, where I tend to get a lot of my headlines from these days. It says here, Trump escalates coup plotting with swearing in of Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett. 1 week before the U.S. presidential election, there's an expanding political conspiracy spearheaded by President Trump to hijack the election and maintain his grip on power, regardless of the outcome of the vote. This effort reached a new stage Monday night with the swearing in of newest Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett, whom Trump nominated in an effort to ensure a Republican-dominated court that will rubber stamp his actions on and after Election Day. The installment of Barrett, staged before a floodlit White House and broadcast on cable television, was the latest in a series of fascistic spectacles intended to convey Trump's determination to dominate the American political scene in defiance of the will of the people and the text of the Constitution. First came his speech accepting the Republican Party's nomination for a second term as president, staged on the White House lawn and using the executive mansion as the backdrop for a partisan spectacle. That shit did look goddamn fascist. It was really wild to watch, I gotta say.
I agree.
It's just on like a pure aesthetic level, but like fascist in the gross, like Trump, like everything's made of gold kind of level as well. Not the beautiful architecture of the Third Reich. I kid, I guess. I don't know. I'm kind of neutral, I guess, about the architecture. Anyway, then came his return from Walter Reed Medical Center. Now, this shit was hilarious, too. His return from Walter Reed Medical Center after his treatment for coronavirus, with the helicopter landing and Trump climbing the stairs to greet supporters from the White House balcony. A virtually scene-for-scene restaging of the Hitlerite documentary Triumph of the Will. So, yeah, I mean, this article goes on to detail, like, basically what I just kind of outlined before anyway, about how it's very obvious what Trump is planning for. And in another article, it gets more into the details of what's already been done by the Supreme Court, like immediately after she was sworn in. Republicans are daring Democrats to expand the Supreme Court.
Why couldn't the Democrats have a... That doesn't fucking matter.
Why didn't they try to obstruct, do anything in their power?
Yeah,
to
I
slow
don't
this
understand. Why didn't they just cause a scene, refuse to vote, and...
I mean, I think it's probably there's probably a multi-level explanation a little bit. I think part of it is their kind of holier than thou attitude that they think somehow politically benefits them, though it doesn't. So their whole thing is well, we're not going to act like the way the Republicans did to us, when Obama was trying to appoint Garland. But I think the other thing is that I've said this many times before, I think ultimately they don't even really, I'm not talking about the base, the supporters, but the actual politicians, I think don't really care if Trump gets reelected.
Oh yeah, I think they make money with him being president.
I don't think Nancy Pelosi gives a shit if Donald Trump gets reelected, because she can spin it to her advantage no matter what, win or lose. If Biden wins, she gets to go, look at what I did to help Biden win. If Trump wins, she goes, look at what you all did by not voting enough and supporting Bernie Sanders and third parties and blah, blah, blah. So it's it's win-win for these people in their minds. And they're fucking millionaires anyway, many times over. I mean, I'm talking about the leadership of the House, and then Chuck Schumer. I don't think he gives a fuck either. He's just posturing sometimes. But yeah, who knows? I mean, there were a lot of things they could have done to slow this down, just very technical, procedural things they could have done, and they didn't do any of it. They didn't try anything. All they did was tweet. They posted. They posted about, we sure hope that Amy Coney Barrett does the right thing and recuses herself. That's what they were literally saying. They were literally saying shit like
that's
that.
Never gonna happen.
And then there are these other outraged, Twitter fucking shit libs who are if Trump does this, we're gonna burn it all down. What are you talking about? Burn it down? What are you gonna burn down?
I hope that happens.
Yeah,
I want to see all the people burn everything down.
But they
burn it all down.
They just mean we're gonna throw a fit, and some people are finally saying we're gonna hold the Democrats responsible. They're not gonna hold the Democrats responsible for shit.
I bet they will take the nuclear option and make an internet petition.
Yeah, I'm sure there's already several of them out there, but
well, if they get more than 25,000 signees, it gets sent straight to the top.
What, to Donald Trump's desk where he can piss on it?
No, the front page of internetpetition.org.
That's sad. Wait, internetpetition.org sounds suspiciously fake to me.
I may have made that one up. I don't remember. What is the name of the fucking petition website?
There's tons of them.
Famous one, right?
I don't know. I think there's just petition.org probably. In any case, we're in the weeds here.
It's not
let's get
internetpetition.org.
That sounds too generic. But okay, this article in New York Magazine, I'm just starting they set up what happened, blah blah blah. She got sworn in. So this gloating about her being sworn in is contrary to the conservative movement's best interests. Part of what makes The right's 6-3 majority, such a prize after all, is that the Supreme Court is widely understood as a neutral, nonpartisan authority. And that's complete horseshit, which I think most people know.
Yeah, judges judge fairly.
Yeah, they're nonpartisan.
When you make
aliens from that are of not of this earth.
Everyone knows when you make judgments, there is nothing less biased in life than when you judge.
By definition.
I mean, that is literally the most neutral of actions. To judge and neutrality have always been hand in hand as like the great unifying place for the center.
Cool.
Didn't you learn this in elementary school like everyone else?
Oh man, I think I'm dumb. I gotta bone up on this stuff on centrist legal theory.
I think it's great that we have another woman Supreme Court justice that conservative Christians can look up to and say, hey, my daughter does not have to be a housewife. It would be best if she was a housewife, but she could also be a Supreme Court justice, which would disappoint me a little bit because she wouldn't be taking care of a husband, which is her duty from God. But at least she would be stopping other women from having abortions.
There's a real silver lining to all of this. So yeah, they're neutral, nonpartisan authority. As such, it is an ideal vehicle for quietly advancing right-wing policy aims too unpopular to implement through elected branches of government. And yet, facing a high probability of unified democratic government next year, and much progressive chatter about expanding the High Court, the House Judiciary Committee and Trump campaign are openly portraying a Supreme Court appointment as a partisan coup. Well, because it is. It is. It just is. Of course it is. There are two complementary explanations for this behavior. One, conservatives see little point in advancing their ideological project if they can't, quote, own the libs while doing so. And more importantly, two, they believe that Senate Democrats are chumps whose threats of court expansion are empty bluffs.
I think that too.
Yeah, I'm sure they believe that. They definitely believe that.
If I've learned anything in my adult life, it's that even when the Democrats, who I supported very hard at some point in my life, and they're better than the Republicans, I'll give them that. But God, they never do any fucking thing.
Yeah, I'm always careful to about my wording of that, because that's what I want to say. Is it like, oh, they're do nothing, they're weak, but I think sometimes they give the appearance of that, but they're definitely doing shit. They are making terrible laws. They're supporting terrible things. I mean, they fucking at least a handful of Democrats voted for Amy Coney Barrett to get the circuit court position before. So I don't know. I think sometimes they're less weak than they seem, and they're just playing their role in the duopoly. I know it sounds conspiratorial, but I don't think it even needs to be a conspiracy to be that way. I think that's just the way things have naturally evolved in U.S. politics. Is they have this kind of constant dueling back and forth between both parties, playing their roles, And I mean, like we've talked about before, that whatever episode that was, we talked about the bipartisanship and how there's way more bipartisanship than there is partisanship in government. I totally think that's the case and usually has been. Where it doesn't seem like it is when you look at like the masses, like the big, dirty, unkempt masses, when they're like, when the Tea Party's yelling and then like Occupy Wall Street's yelling. And if you think that's like representing all of America, it's like, oh, okay, we're a very divided country. But anyway, that's kind of a side point. But I just wanted to get to this one specific thing that the Supreme Court is doing right now, like immediately after her appointment or being sworn in. Goes on to say the conservative Supreme Court majority's decision on voting rights in Wisconsin Monday night. So they did this Monday night, like literally the day she was sworn in. Evinced a similarly low estimation of the threat that Democrats pose to their power. As of early September, the average time it took a first-class letter to reach its destination in Wisconsin was 10 days. We are now just 7 days away from the election, and 700,000 requested mail ballots in Wisconsin have yet to be returned. Taken together, these data points suggest that unless a grace period is established and Wisconsin election officials are empowered to count absentee ballots that were mailed before Election Day but arrived days after, many thousands of Wisconsin voters will be disenfranchised through no fault of their own. In other words, yeah, this is what people have been warning about, like all the fuckery with the post office, but now this is just like on a legal level where the Supreme Court is basically telling the states that it doesn't really matter. Like they can't just like conjure up a grace period, for example.
Yeah.
They don't have that much like self-control over their state, which I'm no expert in any of this shit, but I believe the Constitution does say that states do have the ability to dictate these certain like voting
I'm confused.
laws.
The Republicans in my day, I thought they were all about state rights.
Right. Only when it's convenient. And I mean, Democrats do the same thing though too, because Democrats will that's the most common way of just not answering a question, right? When like when Joe Biden gets uncomfortable about like a question about like maybe even I think at least back in the day he was a little bit iffy about like being pro-choice. I mean, he's always been, I guess, technically. And my point is, you can just like kick it to, well, I believe it's up to the states to decide that. You know, it's like the ultimate like cop out you hear all the time. But whether it's true or not, I don't know. It's a way of like evading the question.
Yeah.
But it looks like a lot of people in Wisconsin their votes just going to be like tossed into a dumpster, and not illegally. Like this will be a legal way of just ignoring their votes, because it says it takes 10 days for mail to reach its destination, and the election is now 6 days away. It was 7 days away at the time of this article. Also, the other thing on top of everything is that Wisconsin state legislature is like extremely dominated by Republicans at the moment, and its Supreme Court justices are also quite conservative. So let's see. The Badger State, that's Wisconsin, GOP, knows that mail-in voters lean left, so they are happy to let their votes be thrown out. But a federal district court ruled that this was contrary to the public's constitutional rights.
I agree.
But here comes the fun part. and it mandated that Wisconsin election officials count ballots that arrive up to 6 days after November 3rd. However, Barrett gets sworn in on Monday night, and also on Monday night, 5 conservative Supreme Court justices threw out that decision.
That's quick. Does Supreme Court make decisions that fast all the time?
Well, they do when the election's coming right around the corner. Most of the jurists did so on the grounds that the only gerrymandered, GOP-dominated state legislature has the authority to change election rules. But Brett Kavanaugh went a bit further, making a substantive case for the Wisconsin GOP's opposition to a grace period. This is where he just goes on and on and on about how even the state legislatures shouldn't be able to decide these things, and that it should really come from a federal level, i.e. the Supreme Court. Anyway, I hate talking about court shit. It's so fucking... I mean, it's important, but it's just like the language of it is so like it makes people's eyes like glaze over, you know, including my own.
I think it's interesting.
It is interesting, but I don't know. I'm sick of hearing myself say these words at this point. But I don't know. What else is there to really say about her nomination? I guess there's a lot more to say about it. Like, people are terrified of what Roe v. Wade getting overturned. Thing about that is that in a significant chunk of the country in America, abortion has been made so
hard to attain.
Inconvenient, yeah, that it's basically illegal, like effectively illegal. Like in Texas, for example, there's certain places, if you live in Texas, where like the nearest place to get an abortion is like a 10-hour drive away, some shit like that. And it's all totally purposefully done by the state government, you know.
Well, it sucks.
Yeah. But that, I mean, I'm not saying that it doesn't matter if Roe v. Wade gets turned over. I kind of have a feeling that that's never getting turned over. But I don't know. I also didn't think Donald Trump was going to be the president, so anything's possible.
Sometimes I think it doesn't get turned over, or it won't be turned over because in some strange way I think it could hurt the Republicans more than it would help them, and I think the people in charge of the party knows that.
Yeah, because that's their big divisive issue.
Yeah, it's what keeps people coming back to them is their promise of turning it over.
Especially
but if they fulfill the promise,
yeah, then that card is.
Where do they go
gone.
Now?
Yeah. I mean, you could argue that like the hardcore evangelical vote is like hugely reliant on they believe that the Republicans will, you know, stop abortions from happening. So I think you're probably right about that. But if this woman is as like seriously
she's a true believer,
devout as she claims to be, like she could very well like make some push for that. But we'll see. I don't know. I don't know if I have anything else to say about the Supreme Court. What about you?
No, I mean, I think this is terrible. I thought Brett Kavanaugh was a terrible thing. I think Amy Barrett's a terrible thing. I think the court packing by Mitch McConnell all the way down throughout the court system is fucking awful. And abortion's a big deal. People should be able to fucking get an abortion if they want a fucking abortion. And I'm also just worried about, I know that there's been talks about trying to overturn the right for gay marriage, which would just fucking crush me because so many of my best friends are gay, and it would crush them, which would in turn crush me.
Yeah, I mean, that would be awful, of course. You saying Mitch McConnell reminded me of two Mitch McConnell things. One is funny, I mean, and disturbing, his hands of late.
Turns out he's been an undead lord of hell all this time.
Shocking.
It's just been in his hands. The truth is in his hands.
I mean, you and I were talking about this before I hit record, but like I just can't get over those fucking hands, man. I was trying to figure out what it could be, and there was some article that was like, here are 10 possible things it could be, but all 10 of them still didn't really line up with the fact that his hands were that blackened, purpled, whatever. It was basically looked black, like a fucking corpse, but it was also on his mouth, and all the medical explanations they gave, like, they would have accounted for something like a quarter size, like a small splotch or something on your hand, not your whole fucking hand. Anyway,
maybe God's real and he's punishing Mitch.
Man, that'd be such a lame. Then God's fucking lame as fuck.
Hey, God's old now. He doesn't have like the floods and the plagues of locust in him anymore.
I would settle with just a bolt of lightning materializing on the floor of the Senate and frying him in front of everyone and on national television. That's all I'm asking for.
You'd finally be able to be a true believer.
I probably still wouldn't be, but I'd be like, fuck yes, this is great.
This is amazing.
Be like, there's alternate explanations, but wow, the universe is very chaotic. Extremely chaotic. And the other thing is that he started like almost crying when he was talking about Amy Coney Barrett being sworn in. He was just like fucking pontificating to the Senate, and his voice was cracking, and it's like, oh, this turtle man has like human feelings, but they're about like the most cold-hearted, ruthless shit.
Who's not to say that the explanation of Mitch McConnell's hands are not so much that he's sick, but that it takes a lot of blood and a lot of effort to do demonic rituals. And that's just the wariness of a magician who has conjured the powers of the underworld to bend reality to his will.
It would be sort of like the fucking like Emperor in Star Wars, like doing the lightning hands.
Oh God,
force
he
lightning.
does look like the Emperor from Star Wars.
So he's just been doing force lightning a lot in his rituals, and yeah, it's just fried his hands a bit, and he like touched his mouth with his force lightning hand and fucked up his mouth a little bit too. But let's stop talking about him. He's so fucking hideous in every sense. Not just the way he looks, but
in every way that he helps Kentucky.
Yeah, helps Kentucky. But the thing about him almost crying also is that like he was basically saying he said like, I think a lot of what's been done in the last 4 years is probably going to get overturned. You know what he means by like the Senate?
Yeah.
And he's just that's him like admitting like, you know, he thinks the Democrats are going to like take over. And but then he said, but they can't take this away. This is like he's basically saying like, we've got 6-3 on the Supreme Court. Now we can fucking really do whatever the fuck we want, which is what these articles are saying too, is that like, yeah, controlling the Supreme Court is pretty fucking important. They have way too much unchecked power. It's insane.
There's some solutions to this.
What are the solutions to the Supreme Court having too much power?
Well, I was just going to say the Democrats could actually pack the courts, which probably isn't going to happen. Yeah,
I mean, I was seeing headlines or like things through like, I don't know, this flurry of articles I was looking at this morning we're also saying like, forget packing the courts, just fucking like
abolish the court.
Them. I mean, which is you know,
I'm fine with that.
I'm in theory fine with that too, but it's also like very much like a pipe dream kind of solution at this point.
Make the lawyers get real jobs.
But one thing I didn't even know when I was reading about this shit was that the number of justices has shifted throughout history.
7 times.
Yeah. Like there's nothing in the Constitution that says there needs to be 9 of them.
Yeah.
So that's what obviously what the packing the courts is about. Or they want, yeah, the idea is that Democrats could potentially pass a bill that I don't know, adds however many more judges to the Supreme Court. But then,
hear me out.
But hang on.
Okay.
That only matters if Biden wins, right?
Only if he wins.
Yeah. So,
which I'm uncertain about.
Yeah, me too. Like I'm kind of falling back on my 50-50 thing.
I kind of think that the Democrats, and there actually is some good Democrats on the down ticket. I think they might win the down ticket part. The election, I'm really just 50-50. I don't know, like there was some news today that Trump is kind of up in the polls in Pennsylvania, and that was one of the states that caused Hillary to lose.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I also think that the poll numbers really in Wisconsin and
and all
Minnesota are not as in favor of Biden as they should be. And I think it's going to be very close, and I think the closer it is, like if it's like Biden's 51% and Trump's 49%, then I think Trump gets it anyways because of like how he's maneuvered the Supreme Court and other things.
Yeah, that's why this is big news, right? That's why this is a big deal, because 3 of the people on that court helped Bush steal the election, in 2000. So there's no reason to think they're not going to do the exact same thing another time with another Republican.
Every passing day, I think that I need to work harder at getting a much more permanent visa in South Korea.
Yeah. Although, I mean, the academies are never going to stop.
No,
you'll always be able to have a job here.
But eventually.
Well,
I think
by the time that it's not possible to get an English teaching job in Korea anymore, we're going to be too old. We're going to be old enough to be embarrassing to be teaching English. At least that's the way I look at it.
I'm embarrassed that I have to work. I'm embarrassed that anyone has to work, to be quite honest.
I'm embarrassed for, yes, the whole world throughout all of time.
Didn't our forefathers work hard enough for all of us? Shouldn't we be?
Which ones?
All of them. All of the previous
generations,
fathers and mothers who worked so hard to let us just live.
I don't know if that was like the plans of the like cave dwelling first Homo sapiens. Like, someday my children won't have to hunt and gather.
They'll just be able to draw cave paintings as long as they want to. Not just in the wee hours when they couldn't sleep because they were thinking of the time the boar impaled them with a tusk.
Okay, moving on. We have to move on. Time is of the essence, man.
Okay.
You got to go to work today, right? Can you call in?
It is. No, God, I'm afraid to call in.
I know. I'm just kidding. I know you can't.
My life is dependent on work, sadly.
What was next on the docket? Should we talk about the cheery subject of the environment collapsing and how governments are suppressing scientific data?
Yeah, of course.
So there's this article entitled "Australian Environmental Scientists Face Mounting Censorship."
Sad.
Yeah, this is also quite a long one. I guess I just recommend listeners checking it out. I'm not going to read like the whole thing. But there's some really these pictures that I've been finding depressing for like, I don't know, a decade now, of like the Great Barrier Reef like being bleached out. I'm sure you've seen those kind of photos, right? Of like the coral reefs in Australia, like just all white. I wonder what.
It's very.
Now that I'm looking at this picture and I just thought about like white nationalism, this coral reefs kind of look like a Klan rally.
Oh.
Well, look at the shape of them. And
No, I see it. I'm looking at the same picture.
Coincidence? I think not. Anyway, actually, I don't even know what there really is to say about this, other than like it's it's not surprising, and it's definitely not only happening in Australia.
Imagine how Earth could thrive without life.
What?
Huh?
What do you mean by thrive? Just like elements, like rocks. And
It's like
magma?
when you have an infestation of bugs in your apartment and you finally eradicate them. I imagine the Earth would just let out that planetary sigh of relief.
If all life, all living systems were evaporated.
It starts in the ocean,
I guess,
and it ends in the ocean.
I guess I just don't think of the word thrive as meaning a barren planet.
Mars seems to be doing.
I
well
mean,
these days.
now, like a planet just with a lack of human civilization, maybe not even all human beings, but just like modern human civilization with all of the pollution and whatnot. Then I can see the idea of thriving. You know, like cities are just like overcome by wilderness, and there's actually this reminds me of I wish I had it like with me right now, but there's some really great like Wikipedia pages that talk about like that show like scientific predictions of what's going to happen in the future, like the far distant future, all the way to the heat death of the universe. But along the way, lots of interesting weird shit is, you know, bound to happen, right? Like, and it just talks about like how many years in the future, and then like they predict like, okay, human beings will be fucking finished here, like mammals, all mammal life will be finished here, and it keeps going and going, and it's actually kind of depressing, but it's fascinating too.
The thing that always worries me.
I actually wanted to do an episode where we just went through that, and maybe we will someday.
We should.
But,
I was just thinking as like the climate heats up as it is. The thing that always worries me is I know that would like increase the what is it? The amount of oxygen or the amount of carbon? Oh gosh, I have to look it up. I just know that one side effect of global warming in the distant future would be that insects will become bigger and bigger.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that one.
And that makes me sad because I don't like them.
I think you're going to have bigger problems by then, possibly.
I won't be
depending on where you live or if you're still alive. Actually, I kind of would look forward. That would be like the only good thing to happen out of global warming. I'd love to see a 5-foot tall mosquito.
Only if it was bearing down on Michicano.
Yeah. Maybe we should just move on to the next thing.
Yeah, let's get off the environment.
And on to
the environment's dying anyways.
Onto a further, even cheerier subject.
Are we going to talk about my favorite board game?
Monopoly?
Pandemic.
Oh, right. Yeah. We are.
How's the good fight going?
Well, not well. I mean, I just checked the numbers earlier today, at least for the United States, and coronavirus cases are at over 9 million. Deaths are at 232,084. It says recovered here is rounded up generously to 6 million. But then when you scroll down further on this site, it says recovered/discharged. To me, that makes me wonder what really the criteria is for recovery, or if people are just being kicked out of the hospital, but they're not really, well. They haven't quite kicked the virus, as it were. And like you and I have mentioned before, even if you really swiftly beat this thing, it leaves you with lung damage that can be quite serious, and I guess it's also now like a marker for increased chance of certain cancers. So I said cheery news, right? Well,
Cherry.
Again, on this website that I like to read, just because I feel like their articles really get to the point in a way. So back to the old WSWS. There's one here. It's not too long. Well, it is kind of long, but no, it's not. Okay. There was a rally recently for this organization, the World Socialist website, the website of the International Committee of the Fourth International, this Trotskyite website. I'm not really sure where I stand on Trotsky, honestly. I got to read more about him. I know some people are not fans, some people that are, as left as anybody, not fans of him, and his idea of permanent revolution. But anyway, in any case, I like the way these people report on the news, and they had this rally, and this is a transcript of one of the speakers talked about. She's named Cheryl Crisp, National Secretary of the Socialist Equality Party of Australia. It's entitled, "The Pandemic Has Only Accelerated the Underlying Contradictions of Capitalism." And this is a theme we've talked about before, I guess, and a theme that you see like people expressing a lot, but I think it's very true. I'll just read a little bit of it here.
Okay.
So she says, the relaunch of the World Socialist website on October 2nd this year marks a milestone in the history of the International Committee of the Fourth International in its fight for the construction of a revolutionary leadership in the working class. The fact that it has been launched in the midst of the greatest crisis confronting capitalism since World War II is lawful. Should I try to read this in an Australian accent? No, I will not. More than 150 years ago, Marx, writing in Volume 1 of Capital, explained the relationship between the classes. Quote, accumulation of wealth at one pole is therefore, at the same time, accumulation of misery, agony of toil, slavery, ignorance, brutality, mental degradation at the opposite pole. He was describing not a policy of governments or business leaders, but the result of capitalist accumulation itself. In other words, the social gulf between the wealthy capitalist elite and the working class is inherent in the very process of production. This has not changed today.
But I thought the money was trickling down.
Yeah, that's the direction it goes.
You buy your Frappuccino, and that money goes to Starbucks, and then Starbucks makes you more Frappuccinos.
How is that true? That's not even an explanation of the false idea of trickle-down economics, but okay.
I thought that's how it worked.
Well, of course the idea is that when the wealth builds up so much at the top, it just bursts open and it rains down on us. Oh, that's not really it either, but
money's been raining down on me all my life.
The idea is that rich people will kind of invest in whatever. We don't need to describe trickle-down economics. It's fucking nonsense. Since the World Socialist website was launched in 1998, it has concentrated exceptional attention and focus on inequality and the increasing polarization of wealth between the ruling class and the working class. This is what now characterizes life in the 21st century. The World Socialist website is a voice through which workers, young people, and the poor can speak, and it is the working class to whom we are turned. It explains not just what is happening, but more importantly, why. It alone has here's the part I'm trying to get at here about COVID and the relationship. It alone has characterized the pandemic as a trigger event, which has accelerated the already underlying contradictions and crises of capitalism. COVID-19, a virus predicted and willfully ignored by capitalist governments, has disproportionately afflicted the working class and the poor. Workers and the poor cannot social distance. Many of those working cannot do so from home, but are compelled to toil in unsafe factories and workplaces. Many have underlying health conditions and are less able to afford health care. The murderous and criminal clamor to lift restrictions and oppose lockdowns has doomed hundreds of thousands to infection and death. You were telling me about your former high school today. What were the infection numbers on that?
522.
Like how big of a high school is that? I'm just curious.
It's big.
Like 2,000 kids?
3,000?
Oh, damn. My high school must have been small then. I think ours was like maybe...
I could be
less
wrong
than
with that number.
2,000.
Maybe it was big too.
Still, that's
bigger now.
It's a lot of infections, and it's like not surprising at all. If you're just gonna throw everybody back into their lives as if nothing's happened. And you were saying like your friend went to visit your hometown, right?
Oh yeah, one of my friends visited my hometown, and which is a small city.
Yeah,
30 to 40,000 people.
That's big in my mind, but we've talked about this before.
Small city.
Yeah.
Comparatively to Seoul.
Sure.
People in Seoul would not even consider it a city.
I'm the real country bumpkin here. I'm from a town of like 10,000.
Oh.
Actually, it's not. It's just the suburbs.
He was just commenting on how nobody wears masks, and that doesn't surprise me.
Just out and about.
Yeah,
just
doing their life.
Breathing and spitting in each other's faces.
But I mean, Tennessee's only number 8 for infections.
Yeah. What was I saw it earlier. Wisconsin was like, or no, Illinois was like 3rd, I think, or 4th. Yeah, this shit fucking sucks. And like, I guess things haven't like industry hasn't ground to a halt really at all in Korea. And we've talked about this before, but I think the thing that makes the difference is people are just taking real personal responsibility. There's like no real like authoritarian government stuff going on here. I mean, yes, masks are mandated, or at least at certain levels they are, but they don't even need to be because everyone just wears them. And yeah, they're just like really common sense precautions taken here. And the rate of infection is just like several orders of magnitude less than in, say, the United States. And, we were picking on the US a lot because they mathematically they're the worst. But like this shit is really happening pretty much the same way in Europe right now, like throughout most of Europe. Like I read the other day that France in like one day had some just like huge number of infections in one day. Anyway, I kind of want to read a little bit more from this article. I think it makes some good points. I mean, even if they're points maybe you and I already kind of understand, but still, Wall Street and the markets rise, and that is the only concern for the ruling class. In January 2020, prior to the pandemic, the richest 2,153 people on the planet had more wealth than the bottom 4.6 billion people. This polarization has only widened. Yeah, all the stats we've seen, about how much money say Amazon has made, like how much more they've profited than they usually would during the pandemic. They're literally like, they're benefiting from this, like above and beyond. With like, they're not just maintaining their normal amount of plundering, like they're actually getting more. And not just Amazon, but a lot of these sort of top dominating companies. The pandemic has been used as the occasion for the further transfer of trillions of dollars of wealth through bailout packages from the poor to the rich. Yeah, I always hear this described, and very accurately, as like the largest upward transfer of wealth in human history. The $2.2 trillion bailout.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it seems about right to me. I mean, and maybe you could go back in time and like do some do some calculation with inflation, and maybe some monarchies like, you know, took more money from the poor than this small amount of rich people are taking from everyone in the world now, but probably not. Like on a global scale, like I think this is probably as worse as it's ever been. But I'm kind of just guessing on that too. But continue a little bit. The turn by the ruling class and capitalist state, most starkly expressed with Trump, to fascistic measures only highlights the impossibility of peacefully maintaining a social system characterized by the vast chasm of inequality. The virus knows no borders, and neither do the conditions imposed by capitalism. The working class is an international class, and increasingly the lives of American, British, European, and Australian workers are becoming indistinguishable from their class brothers and sisters in Africa, Asia, and South America. The revolts against the worsening social conditions span countries and continents and are primarily directed against inequality. Some of the most widely read articles about on the World Socialist website are those which chronicle the experiences of workers and their struggles at work and the fight against inequality. The perspective of the World Socialist website stands in stark contrast to that of the pseudo-lefts who ignore the conditions and experiences of the broad mass of people. In the interests of a privileged middle-class layer, they promote identity politics of race, gender, and sexuality, deny that the major division in society is class, and reject the revolutionary role of the working class. The developing and growing revolutionary struggles, however, need more than just courage and determination. They require a political perspective, a socialist program, and a revolutionary party to lead them in the task for the overthrow of the capitalist system. It is for that purpose that the World Socialist website was launched, and that the transformation that we are so proud tonight to mark has been developed. That was the whole thing. I can't believe I ate the whole thing. Anyway,
I knew you could do it.
I agree with the sentiment there, the overarching sentiment. I'm not sure exactly if the Trotskyist approach is the best approach, but I don't know.
It's a better approach.
I feel depleted by all the shit we're talking about.
Well, in 6 days, I've got good news, Josh. 6 days, you can go back to sleep.
Oh, Joe Biden's going to win?
I don't know.
Yeah. I will definitely not go back to sleep if Biden is president.
Maybe
I mean,
we should stay awake for the next 6 days.
Good idea.
As an experiment. And
it's quite possible that just reminded me, and maybe I can edit this out if we change it, but we might possibly be embarking on another maddening film viewing marathon in the future, but we'll leave it at that. A little teaser.
we have decided to review every film on Netflix.
Without stopping.
Without stopping.
Yes, that's it. Ah, damn it! Why'd you give away the surprise?
It's going to be an endeavor.
No, it'll be a little bit shorter than the Fast and Furious one, but probably more brain eyeball searing, I guess. Anyway, I just wanted to again say that this fucking coronavirus shit is really, it was really getting to me early, a couple days ago. I think I mentioned to you. Like hitting me in ways that it doesn't normally, I guess. Like mostly
it's so damn stressful at times. Like and
the thing is we're relatively safe where we are. Like, but just thinking about this as being like a fact of life for like who knows how long, really. I mean, like, it could possibly be all under control in a year, I guess. Maybe.
Sure.
But that's like at best.
And I don't think South Korea is taking the steps. I don't think the United States is taking the steps to be at best.
It's going to be stamped out here first, for sure.
I mean, like, I just looked up the active cases in Seoul. There's 88 active cases in Seoul.
Yeah.
10 million people, 88 active cases.
Compared to New York City right now, it's probably... I mean, things have, I guess, died down in New York relatively, but...
Active cases in New York is 535,120.
I'm sorry to laugh. It's just like, oh man, when all this shit was first hitting the fan in like March, and I would see like people trying to defend New York, and some people citing Seoul as like an example of how things should be handled.
Wait.
And then what?
I got the wrong number.
Okay.
Sorry. Google lied to. No, I didn't get. My number wasn't that off. It's 503,000 cases.
Okay, it doesn't matter, man. The rough estimate is fine. But people were saying like, well, Seoul isn't nearly as population dense as New York City. And then like people started looking that up, and Seoul is double the population density of New York and actually has more people, like give or take 1 million more.
Yeah.
So that's not the reason New York got fucked up. Like, there are lots of reasons. One of them is Trump, for sure. Another is the fucking governor of New York. The other is the mayor of New York. Lots of people dropped the ball. Like, and and it was tons of people on the individual level not taking it seriously enough, even when they were being told by various. I mean, I guess also like the news media was not taking it very seriously right away either. Like we've talked about, that fucking Fauci asshole was like, nobody needs masks. Everybody chill out. This is only going to hurt the Chinese. Like everything's fine. And like, a week later, there's like a fucking Holocaust going on in New York City. Like, it's just so, there's no excuse for it.
People
and what's happening now, just it boggles my mind that everyone's sending themselves back to school, sending their children back to school. And I get it, like in some way, like what else can you do in America? You have no choice.
I mean, what else can you do? If something's inconvenient, you have to do the convenient thing.
You could keep your kids home from school, but like people who have to go to work, like they ought to fucking go to work. Like, and yeah, people work in factories, people work in restaurants, and all this shit is totally open, and there's no mandates on like mask wearing or hand washing. Like maybe in individual stores there is, but like there's no real like enforcement. And it's fucking pathetic that we would need authoritarian enforcement to do that, because there's so many fucking assholes trying to,
No.
This mask is fascist. It's trying to silence me. My doctor says I have a medical condition where I can't wear a mask.
On the note of assholes,
Yeah.
the Trump campaign did say today on their scientific accomplishment list that they ended coronavirus.
Do you have the list up right now? Yeah, they said one of Trump's many, many distinguished accomplishments is ending the coronavirus. Is how exactly do they word it? Can you tell me?
Sure. The White House Science Office lists ending the COVID-19 pandemic as one of the top accomplishments of the Trump administration's first term.
How can they say it's been ended anywhere? It's not even ended in his own body, I'm pretty sure.
Let's see. Advancing America's global... Oh, gosh. This is like a government document. It looks so boring. Sorry. We'll go through the list of common acronyms first. AIs are... Sorry, I'm not going to go through the list of...
Okay, while you look for that, I want to explain what happened at my place of work this week. So, well, and starting with last week. So just to contrast how differently things are handled here in Seoul. Not everywhere, because, okay... We can also contrast like the school I work for now and the school I used to work for, which Jason currently works for. My current, English academy that I work for, like the moment there's even like a stirring of like, oh, numbers might be going up in some, even just one part of the city or even just like in general throughout the country, they let us do online classes and work from home, which is great. And that happened last week. So like I worked from home Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I work on Saturdays and I have Wednesdays off. Anyway, but then this week we were back in the classroom on Monday, and then Monday night, I get a text message saying one student at the school has been, tested positive for coronavirus. Got it from his father, and so until further notice, like everything's going to be online. You can stay home. The student who's the teachers who actually directly teach this student were in the room with him the one day that he may have been infected when he was at the school. Like they immediately got tested, and then they, quickly had like all of us get tested. That's why I got tested last night. And even the testing process was so smooth and so easy. It took me like 10 minutes tops. Like the whole thing from beginning to end, like signing in.
But I thought socialized medicine was slow.
No, it was extremely fast. It was very fast.
I know it's fast. I've been, I go to the doctor here. I didn't really go to the doctor much in the States. When I did, I remember it being very slow because usually it was like ER visits, and ERs are very slow. Because there was no way I was doing yearly checkups. You have to have insurance for that.
And when you have private insurance, you're doing way more fucking paperwork.
That's true.
I don't do any paperwork with government insurance.
Yeah, I just show my Korean ID.
Yeah, I don't do anything. I just, show your ID, give them your card to make the like very modest like co-payment, I guess. Is it even a co-payment? Would you even call it that?
I think I don't really know what it is. It's like
it's very small, whatever it is.
You pay a reduced payment.
Yeah, like I don't want to drag on too much longer about our personal situations with. Well, no, why not? It could be interesting, but like I got pneumonia a couple of years ago here, and I stayed in the hospital for like a week and a half, I think, and I had a private room. Not by request, like they just gave it to me for whatever reason. I was in the hospital for a week and a half. In the United States, this would have cost me probably...
It would have ruined your life.
$50,000? Probably more?
It would
I don't
have
even
ruined
know.
your life.
Yeah, and like there were tons of tests and like scans, and like they did like CT scans and like looked at my lungs and blah, 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 and took really good care of me. It was very comfortable. And when I walked out of there, I think I paid what would have been the equivalent of like $200.
That sounds right.
And it blew my mind. Like, I thought I was going to be dropping at least like $1,000. Even
Which would have still been cheap.
Oh yeah, relatively. But like, I couldn't believe it. And when I tell like, Korean people about this, they're like, well, what do you mean? That's the price. They actually think it's like maybe too expensive.
Oh yeah. I know that when Yane was hospitalized earlier this year she broke some bones in her foot and ankle, that she made sure not to get a private room because it's too expensive. I mean,
yeah, I mean it's all relative, I guess, right? Yeah. It's like, because some Koreans do get supplemental private insurance, but I don't know. Usually
for like, so I bicycle a lot, and most of the guys I know who bicycle here have like there's like sports insurance because it just covers sports related stuff a bit better.
Okay. All I know is that I also another time I I had a fainting spell. It was really weird, and my girlfriend thought I was like dying because I started having like a seizure. I was just really dehydrated in the morning one morning, and like it was scary because I didn't know what was going on really, and so she naturally called that ambulance, and we were in like the countryside. We were in like Sokcho area, like out there, and
West Coast, East Coast.
Yeah, East Coast. And the ambulance got there like in like 2 minutes, and like I don't know. I'm just saying like the whole process was really smooth. They did an MRI, they did a CT scan, didn't find anything wrong with me. Then they and like what I'm saying is an ambulance ride alone in America, like most people,
$5,000.
Yeah, if probably more in some cases. But I think I walked out of that hospital visit having gotten an MRI scan, a CT scan, and a hospital ride, an ambulance ride. I don't remember exactly, but it was probably like $20.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's better ways to live, and everybody knows this. I mean, I feel like really beating a dead horse here, but it's just when you experience it, because like when I lived in America, I knew theoretically, of course, we should have like, nationalized healthcare, socialized medicine, whatever. But like sometimes when people ask me, what do you like best about living in Korea? The first thing that comes to mind is I don't have to worry about health insurance the way I did in America.
Yeah.
And anyway,
it's probably number 2 for me. Number 1 being that you can drink in public.
Yeah, that I gotta put my rearrange my priorities a little bit.
I mean, there's nothing better than just sitting on a curb and drinking a beer, not in a paper bag.
But you know that I think technically that's actually still illegal. We just the police don't enforce anything. Because that's what I thought too. I'm like, oh, it's so cool that you can legally drink here like that. And I think Hay wants to be like, you're not really supposed to do that. I'm like, oh, but everybody does it. She's like, yeah, I know, but it's not legal. I think. I don't know. Maybe it depends on the city.
No, I don't think it's illegal, but I think that sometimes it goes against social norms. Like
that could be
like
it too. If you're just walking down
the street drinking a beer is weird. But if you're sitting at like a convenience store's table or in the park,
I don't even consider that drinking in public, and for some reason, like at a convenience store, because it's like their private property, right?
I guess so.
But yeah, you can't do that. You couldn't do that in America, right?
You
like
cannot,
a 7-Eleven.
That is
you definitely can't. See,
allowed.
that's how long I've lived here. Is I'm having to wonder aloud. Can you drink? It's outside of a convenience store.
You cannot.
No,
they
you
do
can't.
not have a license for that.
Yeah, you cannot do that.
There are many things you cannot do in the land of the free.
Wait, what about like drinking a beer like on a picnic at a park?
No, that is technically illegal. At least in Tennessee, it is.
I think that's probably like a city and town. Like it's probably up to them.
Probably.
Or maybe a state level thing. Anyway. We didn't really have anything else planned out to talk about, did we?
I think we've talked enough about how the world's making progress.
Just like always.
Soon it'll thrive, a lifeless husk free of responsibility.
The first voice recording was made in 1860. It was a 10-second fragment of the French folk song Au clair de la lune recorded by inventor Edward Leon Scott de Martinville. But who will make the final voice recording and when? What will it be? Who will hear it?
Okay, it's time for our regular segment, General Recommendations. I've got two very unrelated things I'd like to recommend. The first is a good, charity, actually, that I was just reminded of today because I'm on their email list and I got an email from them. Doctors Without Borders is a very good organization.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, they're started in France. What is it called in French? Médecins Sans Frontières, something like that. Doctors Without Borders. Yeah, they just do a lot of good, charitable medical work, and they supply medical supplies and surgical supplies and so on all around the world, everywhere. They're in war zones. The most recent update I just got from them today was that they are in Syria and they're treating people after a very recent airstrike where 75 people were killed, 135 were injured. And they're not fleeing, they're staying there, and they're helping the injured people, and they're helping the doctors that, live there already. And, they do a lot of good stuff. I don't donate to a ton of charities. I maybe should donate to more, but they're one that I regularly do. And, I encourage other people to check them out and see if it's something you'd like to help. It's a good cause. But to undermine the seriousness of what I just said with, I also would recommend this very interesting, I guess, and entertaining TV show that I watched on Netflix called Hitler's Henchmen. It's one of those, it's kind of like a hack joke at this point to point out that the History Channel is 95% shows about Hitler and Nazis. I think it was a History Channel show. It was a series. And it just goes into Hitler's henchmen, all the kind of top Nazis who surrounded him, from way back in the beer hall days, all the way through to his suicide, and the reenactment portions are really kind of funny because the guy that got to play Hitler just looks ridiculous. they all look kind of ridiculous, but they also have some pretty good like actual historical footage too, and they do go into some interesting like parts of history that I think aren't totally mainstream, not like everybody knows about. Definitely some things I didn't know about. It's mostly about the sort of backstabbing that all of these guys did to each other while trying to like ascend the ranks of, you know, the Nazi party. And what was kind of amusing to me about it was that it started to remind me of like a really shitty reality TV show, like Real Housewives or something. Like, I feel like it could have been called like Real Housewives of the Third Reich or something like that. Anyway, yeah, there's just like tons of you know, alliances and assassination attempts and successful assassinations, and I don't know. I've started to notice a trend of like when I'm kind of feeling down, I watch pretty bad TV, like lesser quality TV. Like maybe I'll either watch shows like this about like fucking Nazis or like competitive cooking shows. So like one or the other. But
so you live your life like a bake-off? A great bake-off?
That one actually doesn't interest me for some reason. It seems too like good-natured. I like the ones where they like get bitchy with each other.
Oh, I like the good-natured ones.
I'm more of a Jesus. This is gonna.
I want to live in a world where everyone's good-natured.
I'm gonna reveal myself here. I'm more of a master chef and a Top Chef kind of guy.
So harsh.
Well, and those shows are just so formulaic. Like every season is exactly the same. They follow the same structure all the time. And you just sit there and you predict exactly what's going to happen, and usually you're right, like 99% of the time. Like that guy's going to get kicked out, that one's going to win. And there's something weirdly comforting about the predictability of it, I guess.
Sure. It's not like my cup of tea or whatever, but I get that. Like, I've had lots of friends really into that type of reality TV, and they like it for that very reason.
I never thought I would be one of those people, but somewhere in the last couple of years, I turned into one of those people.
I mean, I watch a lot of, like, I would call, like, B-grade sci-fi and fantasy shows. Not like the ones that are good, but, like, the ones that are on Sci-Fi Network.
Okay.
That might have a season or two and no one watches.
You mean like Sharktopus level?
Yeah, that would be like the movie equivalent.
Okay.
But and I enjoy them because they're oddly predictable to me and comforting. Yeah. And it's just like extensions of shit I liked when I was younger.
Right.
And I still like now.
It makes sense. I guess I even when I was a kid, I kind of enjoyed watching like on PBS, the nice, like peaceful, like here's how to make this dish, and like
sure,
it's just the process of making some sort of like
I loved watching
meal.
Cooking shows growing up, so I get that.
But then they take that and they throw it into this hyperdrive, like stupid staged reality TV thing, which I don't know, whatever. Don't judge me. I can do what I want when I'm depressed.
Sure, do as you please.
I was gonna say, I think how it started was maybe some podcaster that I respect said that it was someone, I'll call him out right now.
Alex Jones.
Steve Sadak from We Hate Movies always brings up the show Chopped. And I was like, that sounds like an interesting premise. And I watched a few episodes of Chopped. And I think I got sucked into like the Food Network's vortex or something. I
haven't watched Chopped. I'll check it out.
Chopped is do you know the premise of it?
I have no clue. Is it about knife skills?
Well, they're all about knife skills, man. No, the whole premise is they give you like a basket of really disparate, weird ingredients that would never go together. And they have like 30 minutes to make something good out of it.
Oh, that's cool.
It'd be like, here's a fish head, a bag of Cheetos, some caramel. Like seriously, it's like that level of weirdness. And
Oh, that sounds great.
It is.
I have to watch that.
And
that actually sounds like the type of cooking show that I would love.
And that show, if you watch enough of it, becomes very predictable and comforting as well. Like it's all, like all these shows do.
You find out that with the right skills, you can make anything delicious.
It's kind of fun, I gotta say. I feel like such a fucking normie right now. Whatever, doesn't matter. I'm not embarrassed at all. So donate to Doctors Without Borders. That's my point. And maybe check out this silly Hitler show. I watched the Hitler's Henchman show over the course of like a couple of months. Like I started watching it one night and I was like, fuck this, I can't take any more. But then I finished it off like a few months later. Wow. What a weird... Anyway. What do you got?
My suggestion is not related to Hitler or doctors in any way. So one of my favorite fantasy and I guess sci-fi authors is Brandon Sanderson, who is, I want to say a bit like a Stephen King in the fantasy world, as in he's written a ton of books. Like he's like just stupidly prolific. I wouldn't.
Does he have ghostwriters or whatever? Like
no.
Stephen King supposedly does.
He doesn't have ghostwriters. He has an interesting process though. He kind of like uploads most of his outlines and other things to the internet, and like he like follows really strict schedules. But his a new book in the Stormlight Archive, which is one of my favorite sci-fi or fantasy book series. It's also a bit sci-fi. Is coming out next month. So I was going to recommend the Stormlight Archive because I think that it's a really great fantasy series, and it's cool. It talks about power struggles and other things, and it's just fun and entertaining. It's definitely more like blockbuster fiction than literary fiction, but if you need to escape, it's a great escapist medium. And also, another thing I wanted to recommend to Brandon Sanderson, even if you're not a fantasy fan, all of his, he's also a university professor at BYU. All of his creative writing classes are posted to YouTube, and he posts his like lectures every year, and they're excellent if you have any interest in creative writing. Even if you're not really into like fantasy writing, he gives really great lectures and just like really great for like the process of thinking about creative writing. So maybe I recommend those lectures more than even the books because they're good.
Cool. What's premise of that series that you like? What's the like setting? Like, because when you say fantasy, that could mean
it can mean a lot of things.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the lame thing that I think of when I think of fantasy, I guess immediately is
So the setting of this fantasy is not so much. There's not like elves and dwarves and gnomes.
That's
and
what
other
I mean,
shit.
yeah.
It's more of like it's set in this world called Roshur. I think that's what it's called. And it's been a while since I've read the last book. It came out like 3 years ago. It's set in this world where there are basically two distinct groups of humans: light eyes and dark eyes. And class is kind of based on like light eyes and dark eyes.
Those sound like slurs.
Yeah, they do. The light eyes are the ruling class.
Okay.
And it's focused on a dark eye character who is who was a soldier and just like a regular citizen, then ends up becoming a slave, and like his revolution, I guess you would say. It's about revolution.
So we're on the side of the, I feel like racist saying dark eyes, but
obviously we're on the side of the light eyes.
Oh
no, we're not. Well, it gets more complicated than that. That's like a really like base description. It's political, but it's also like supernatural, and there's like weird stuff and like people having to unite and like get past like their class struggles.
Oh, okay. That sounds cool.
Yeah, like
it sounds cooler to me than I guess like you said, elves and dwarves.
I feel like maybe I can give like more details, but I think I just get into spooler territory. And if someone else in the podcast happens to like these books, they are popular books. Like this, I mean, number one best-selling author. But
I got a pretty good sense of. I guess I was just wondering: are there elves and shit, or is it like more based on like more realistic humans?
An interesting thing about Brandon Sanderson is he studied in Korea for a while.
Cool.
Yes, I don't know if that's interesting or not.
Speaking of, is that cool or not?
I ask that about myself every day because the only way to be cool is to question, is this cool or not?
Constantly.
Remember, that is the trick to self-actualization. Did I say self-actualization?
You kind of did.
Oh, no.
That's a good place to end.
On that note, goodbye.
See ya.